I arrived home for Christmas. The house was empty save for Grandma, who was picking at the drywall. A note read, "Spent your $8,500 loan on a family cruise. Please take care of Grandma." Grandma said, "We'll fix it." I nodded. For days later, they were begging me not to. It was my parents' house, the one I'd practically paid for. I was supposed to be home for Christmas, like I promised, like always. But when I opened the door, the warmth and cheer I expected wasn't there. The tree was lit, sure, the cheap plastic star blinking like it was trying to apologize. But the silence was thick. No voices. No wrapping paper. No cinnamon or burnt cookies. Just the faint clinking of a fork against a plate. "Hello," I called out, stepping in cautiously. "In here, dear," a voice said from the kitchen, soft, tired. I rounded the corner and there she was. Grandma, sitting alone at the table in her purple knitted sweater, a plate of cold stuffing and half-eaten ham in front of her. I blinked. "Where is everyone?" At first, she didn't answer. Just gave me a sad, toothless smile and slid a folded note across the table. Her hands were shaking. I picked it up. It wasn't even an envelope, just a ripped notebook page, my name scrawled on it in black pen. "Spent your $8,500 loan on a family cruise. Sorry. Take care of Grandma while we're gone. Love, Mom." I stared. I didn't speak. My brain stopped processing words somewhere around loan and cruise. That money was for my dental surgery. I had saved for over a year. Grandma watched me like a soldier watches a minefield, carefully, quietly. I guess they didn't think you'd mind," she said softly, folding a napkin. "They left yesterday." I sat down hard. The seat was colder than the room. "No warning. No call. They just took the money and left you here," I whispered. She let out a dry laugh. "Oh, honey, you know they only call when they want something." I nodded slowly, my hands clenching under the table. This wasn't new. It was just louder. Grandma took a small sip of orange juice, looked me dead in the eye, and said, "We'll fix it." I didn't say anything, but inside, something snapped. And something else, something much colder, started to grow. Grandma went to bed early that night. Said she was tired, that her hips couldn't take the waiting anymore. She kissed my cheek, patted my arm, and whispered, "You were always the only one who stayed kind." And then she shuffled off, with that little limp she'd had since she fell down the stairs 2 winters ago. The one nobody else took her to rehab for. I sat alone in that house for hours. No TV. No lights. Just that note. That goddamn note. The loan. My money. The money I worked night shifts, weekends, holidays, driving Uber, freelancing, skipping meals, skipping sleep, for. $8,500. Gone. On a cruise. I opened the family group chat. No response. Not even a Merry Christmas. I scrolled up. My mom's last message was from November. "Don't forget to transfer the loan to Dad's account. We need to book before the prices go up." Loan. They never called it a gift because they knew it wasn't. I remembered my mother's voice when she pitched the idea to me. "It's just a short-term loan. We'll pay you back by February latest. You can always reschedule your dental appointment." I nodded, because that's what I always did. When they wanted money for Jacob's tuition, I nodded. When they wanted help with Dad's gambling debt, I nodded. When Kelly needed to pay rent after losing her job, aka quit because her boss was mean, I nodded. I always nodded, because if I didn't, I was selfish. Useless. Ungrateful. Because family comes first. Because after all we've done for you. What they done for me. Kicked me out at 17 because I refused to lie for Jacob after he stole Grandma's painkillers. Didn't come to my college graduation. Too busy helping Emily move into her boyfriend's house. Forgot my birthday 3 years in a row. But when it came to money, suddenly I was family again. The next morning, I had answers. They weren't just on a cruise. They were on the Majestic Aurora, a luxury liner cruising the Caribbean for 10 days. Charming stateroom. Private butler. Infinity pool access. Gourmet meals. $3,000 per person. For them. I know, because Emily posted a picture on Instagram when she'd conveniently forgotten to block me. All four of them in robes, toasting with champagne. The caption, finally, some peace away from the leeches and negativity. Leeches. I laughed. Out loud. They used my money, abandoned Grandma with the drywall, and called me a leech. That's when the last wire inside me snapped. And I wasn't sad anymore. I wasn't even angry. I was focused. That night, Grandma found me in the garage. I was hunched over Dad's old filing cabinet, surrounded by stacks of papers, old bills, and records. She didn't say anything. Just watched me as I sifted through decades of lies. I need to know everything, I told her. Where the money went. What they did. Who's involved. She sat down next to me, pulled out a faded notebook, and started flipping through pages. Let's start with 2016, she said. That's when your mother took my pension. By midnight, we had numbers. By the next day, we had a plan. They strolled into the driveway like royalty. The same ones who'd left me and Grandma with a note and a fridge full of spoiled coleslaw were now returning home like war heroes. Their laughter flooded the house even before the door opened. Emily bounced in first, dragging a designer suitcase, hair braided with ribbons, nails freshly done. Ugh, so glad to be back. That last dinner on the boat. Mid-sentence, trailing a cloud of expensive perfume, my mother barged in with the flair of a soap opera villain, sunglasses on indoors. Did you even clean up a little? She asked, stepping over Grandma's shawl like it was garbage. Dad followed, red-faced and stuffed from cruise buffets, grunting at the sight of me. Oh, you're still here? Jacob was last. Didn't even acknowledge Grandma. Just dumped his bags by the sofa and collapsed onto it. I said nothing. I was sitting at the table, hands clasped, calm, ready. Where's the food? Mom asked, scanning the kitchen like she owned it. In the fridge, I said. There's still plenty of that ham you left. Jacob snickered. Dude, order takeout. It's not like you're broke. I stood up slowly. I'm glad you're all here. Sit down. I have something to show you. Jacob rolled his eyes, but slumped into a chair. Dad cracked his knuckles. Emily was too busy searching for an outlet to charge her phone. I turned the laptop screen towards them and hit play. The first video, a spreadsheet. Not just any spreadsheet. A financial audit I'd been building for 4 days with Grandma. Every dollar transferred out of her pension account. Every ATM withdrawal at the gas station Dad always used. Every Zelle payment Emily requested to cover emergencies that turned out to be Sephora and Apple charges. Where did you get this? Mom asked, her voice suddenly tight. From your bank, I said. You should be more careful about using someone else's password. The second video, screenshots of BMO transactions, logins from Mom's devices, pension access points, comparisons of Dad's betting habits, and then emails. Mom to Emily. Going to see Emily. He won't notice the crew deposit missing. He trusts us too much. Emily's reply, he's a pushover. Besides, who leaves Grandma alone on Christmas? I clenched my jaw, but kept going. I could stop here, I said. But I won't. One more file. A voice recording. Kelly, Jacob's wife, was on our porch 2 nights ago, sobbing. I didn't want to go, I begged him. But Jacob said if you didn't give them the money, they'd leave you and deal with it later. I stayed quiet because he said it would all be forgotten. I'm sorry. I just couldn't do it anymore. Jacob jumped up. You recorded my wife? That's illegal. No, I said. She asked me to. Said she was tired of lying for you. Tired of watching you bleed people dry. Dad stood up, face red with rage. You little snake. You've been digging through our accounts. As if I hadn't suffered enough robbery already. I lost my composure. I opened one last tab. A pre-written email with the subject line, Formal Report of Financial Elder Abuse. Evidence attached. Addressed to Social Security. The Fraud Division. Grandma's lawyer, the county ombudsman, and 2 local news outlets. You have 48 hours, I said, my voice steady, to pay me back every single cent. Or I send this. All of it. To Emily, her hands were shaking. You're bluffing. You'd ruin your own family. No, I said. They ruined themselves. I'm just sending them the bill. Grandma stood up slowly. She hadn't said a word through all of this, but now she walked to the head of the table, placed a hand on the back of a chair, and said, I raised you 3, fed you, changed you, protected you. And when I couldn't walk, you left me with frozen beans and mushy cake while you drank champagne with stolen money. You're lucky it's him coming for you, because if it were just me. Her voice trailed off, but the room was silent. The message rang loud and clear. Dad muttered something under his breath and stormed out. Emily cried and tried to hug Grandma, who turned away. Jacob stared at me. You're not family anymore. I smiled. No. Finally, I'm free. They didn't think I'd do it. Thought I was bluffing. Even after I sent them that email. Even after Grandma glared at them with the quiet, ancestral rage of a woman wronged. They still believed they could wait me out. Manipulate me. Wear me down. But that version of me, the quiet one, the one who nodded and paid and said thank you for the crumbs, she died when they spent $8,500 of my savings on piña coladas and a cruise buffet. The first 24 hours were quiet. Not a single text. No apologies. Just me and Grandma in that empty, quiet house, eating microwaved oatmeal and checking the bank account in shifts. Nothing. The second day, I sent the email. All the files, all the screenshots, all the recordings, timestamped, notarized, filed with state authorities, and CC'd to every media outlet within a 100-mile radius. At 6:13 p.m., I got a reply. Thank you for your submission. A case has been opened. The third day, it exploded. Jacob was the first to panic. I woke up to 12 missed calls and a barrage of texts ranging from, we didn't mean it, to, are you seriously going to destroy your own family over money? And then came Mom's classic, you're being overly sensitive. Please take the post down. Let's talk. But I didn't reply. Instead, I forwarded every message to my lawyer, a woman named Natalie, who read them with the cold precision of a surgeon. She'd been working with Grandma's legal counsel since the day I recorded Kelly's confession. That same afternoon, Natalie sent official letters of intent to sue to my parents, Jacob, and Emily. It wasn't a bluff. The charges: financial elder abuse, unauthorized access to retirement accounts, misappropriation of family loans. The amount owed, with interest and damages, $14,322.85. The next night, my mother showed up at the door. She looked like someone who hadn't slept. No makeup, hair pulled back, ragged. Can we talk? She asked, her voice shaky. I crossed my arms. Only if you brought a checkbook. She reached into her purse and pulled out a thick envelope. Inside was a cashier's check for $8,500. My loan. Not interested, I asked. You're lucky to be getting this, she snapped. This mess is destroying us. You created it. You're turning your back on your own mother. No, I said, stepping out and slamming the door shut. Finally, I'm turning my back on a thief. Later that week, Emily called me from her work phone. She was crying. Told me the article had started circulating. The headline: Family steals disabled grandmother's pension, abandons her on Christmas. Grandson fights back. It got 42,000 shares overnight. The company Emily worked for, a small marketing firm, did not appreciate the press. Her name was on all the screenshots. Her message about leeches and negativity had become a meme. I'm going to get fired, she shrieked. Do you have any idea what you've done? Return the favor, I said. Now pay your share. She did. In 4 installments. I made it sting, every time. No shortcuts. Jacob was the last to fall. At first, he played tough. My boss doesn't care, he boasted on social media. It's all lies anyway. But then Kelly left him. Filed for separation. Told him she wasn't going to let her kids grow up in a house where lying and stealing was the norm. He called me that same day. I'm sorry it took so long, he whispered. But I've seen who he really is now. I asked if he needed help finding a place. He paused, then said, only if it's no strings attached. I smiled. Then yes, because you did the right thing. 2 days later, Jacob showed up at my door. Unshaven, tired, furious. You're a fool, he hissed. You ruined everything. No, I said, handing him a legal letter. You did. Natalie had just filed a motion to garnish his wages. He tried to rip it in half and throw it at me. I didn't flinch. Pay every cent, I said, or we freeze your accounts. I'm not bluffing. Ask Emily. By the end of the second week, they had paid me back every penny. $8,500 from Mom and Dad. $3,100 from Emily, including interest. $2,700 from Jacob, after some persuasion from his own boss, humiliatingly enough. Total, $14,300. I used $3,000 to finally get that dental surgery. Another $2,000 went toward a stair lift and a home nurse for Grandma. The rest went into an interest-bearing account in Grandma's name, one only she and I could access. When I showed her the paperwork, she cried. They took everything from me, she whispered. But they didn't take you. And just like that, I had it. Not just the money, not just the legal win. I had it back. The weight I'd been carrying for years, the guilt, the obligation, the quiet shame of being less loved, it all peeled off like an old coat, and I stood taller than I had in years. They stopped calling. And you know what? It felt like the silence, for the first time, came alive. Not the panicked silence of guilt. Not the heavy silence of shame. But a clean, surgical silence. The kind that comes after something infected is cut out. The money was back. The house was quiet. Grandma was finally sleeping through the night again, not waking up every hour terrified someone would come in and steal what was left of her dignity. And I was becoming someone they couldn't control. In the weeks after the blowout, I didn't just collect money. I reclaimed my life. I quit my soul-crushing job. Took a remote contract that paid better and gave me back my hours. Took Grandma to her favorite diner, an old, dusty place with checkered floors and the worst coffee in the state. She laughed more in 1 hour than I'd seen her do in 5 years. I missed this, she said, dipping fries in her milkshake. You mean your arteries missed this? I joked. She shrugged. I'd rather die laughing with you than choking down cruise shrimp with those snakes. Fair enough. But even peace has its phantoms. They didn't call, but they talked. Oh, they talked. Emily posted on Facebook that some people don't understand what forgiveness means, accompanied by a picture of her lighting a candle in church. Mom told distant relatives that I had manipulated Grandma in her old age. Conveniently omitted the part where she used Grandma's pension to pay off her plastic surgery debt. Jacob, oh Jacob. He went full delusional. Posted a video about toxic siblings with stock footage of Succession, acting like he was the betrayed heir to a crumbling empire. The caption: some people would rather see you fall than rise with you. I laughed for a solid 10 minutes. Rise with you? You tried to burn me alive and dance on the ashes. They wanted to rewrite the story. But I had the receipts. And I wasn't going back to the shadows. The turning point came 3 weeks later. I was at the grocery store with Grandma, pushing her cart, filling it with cans of soup and ginger ale, when a woman approached us. Older, elegant, clearly familiar. Excuse me, she said, looking me straight in the eye. Are you the one from the article? My stomach lurched. She smiled. The one who saved his grandma. I blinked. I guess. Yes, she said, glancing at Grandma, then back at me. I just wanted to thank you. For standing up for yourself. For not staying quiet. My mother, they did the same thing to her. but nobody fought for her. I wish someone had. She touched my arm, gently, briefly, and then walked away. I turned to Grandma. She was frozen, hand hovering over a can of soup, tears in her eyes. I didn't think anyone saw us, she whispered. They do now, I said. And that's when I realized it wasn't just about the money, or revenge, or proving I wasn't a pushover. It was about saying the truth out loud. And finally, the best part, I didn't have to explain anymore. I didn't need to yell the truth. It was already out there, dragging their names like a spilled garbage bag down the sidewalk. Every time they posted, people remembered. Every time they lied, someone in the comments reminded them of who they really were. Mom tried to rebuild her image. Started a YouTube cooking channel, Cozy Cooking with Carla. But on the first episode, someone commented, "Did you pay for that oven with stolen retirement funds?" She deleted the channel 2 days later. Jacob tried to get a new job. Failed the background check. Apparently, the garnishment order spooked the company. Oops. Emily disappeared for a while, then reappeared with a new Instagram account. At m_elif_reset. Posted yoga photos. Inspirational quotes about cutting out toxic people. Which was hilarious, because I didn't cut her out, I exiled her. Months passed. I moved into a new apartment. Quiet. Clean. Filled with second-hand furniture I picked out myself. Nothing they touched. Nothing they chose. I brought Grandma with me. One bedroom for her, one for me. She decorated hers with old photos and a blanket she crocheted in 1993. Called it the fort. One night, she knocked on my door. "I have a question," she said, settling slowly onto my bed. "When you saw that note, the one they left, why didn't you just leave? Why did you stay?" I thought for a moment. Then I said, "Because I remembered who I was before they made me forget." She looked at me for a long moment, then nodded. "I'm proud of you, honey." And that broke me more than any insult they ever hurled my way. Because she meant it. And because nobody else in that family ever had. Weeks later, I ran into Kelly outside a coffee shop. She looked healthier, lighter, happier. She told me she was taking night classes, working toward her certification, trying to build something of her own. "I didn't know I could live like this," she said, no longer afraid of what he'd do next. "You gave me that." I didn't know what to say. She reached out. "You changed more than just your life, you know." I nodded silently. And maybe, for the first time, I believed it. So here's my ending. You want to know what happened to the family? They destroyed their own name trying to bury mine. You want to know what happened to me? I stopped waiting for them to call me family and started building one with the people who never made me beg for love. And now? Now I sleep soundly with all the lights off, because I'm no longer afraid of what they'll take from me. They already took everything. And I got it back.